In June last, Edgar Davis was arrested and charged with contempt of court. It is alleged that in defiance of a direction by a judge, he published the name of a witness in a criminal trial. In Fulchester Crown Court, the prosecution have just called their first witness against Davis.
Constable Carter, you were duty officer in this court in the week commencing Monday the 14th of October last year.
Yes, sir.
What case was then being heard?
Monday to Thursday, 14th to 17th of October, was the trial of Stanley Jobson on a charge of blackmail, of which he was convicted.
Was any special direction given by the trial judge?
Yes, sir. His lordship directed that the principal prosecution witness should be referred to as Mr. K, and that his name should not be published.
Did the judge give a reason for this direction?
Yes, my lord. He said that if witnesses in such cases were given this protection by the court, they'd be more likely to come forward and assist the police.
If they were given the guarantee of anonymity?
Yes, my lord. His lordship said that a victim of blackmail was hardly likely to come forward if the world could read in the morning papers what he was being blackmailed for.
I see. Yes, Mr. O'Connor?
Were there, to your knowledge, Constable, any reporters then present in court?
Yes, sir, several.
Were any known to you?
Yes, sir. The accused, Mr. Davies, of the Fulchester Herald.
Now, was he present when the trial judge made his direction regarding the anonymity of Mr. K?
Yes, sir.
You are certain of that?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Constable.
Constable Carter, you say you knew the accused by sight and by name.
Yes.
Did you know him to speak to?
Oh, yes, sir, often. He was often covering cases in this court while I was on duty here.
Yes, well, it usually happens when the name of a witness is withheld. That name is nevertheless inadvertently dropped in court, generally by other witnesses. Now, did this happen during the trial of Stanley Jobson?
Yes, sir.
So everyone in court, in fact, knew what the witness was called?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Well, thank you, Constable Carter.
Mr. Donaldson, you are licensee of the White Hart Hotel, Dyke Street, Fulchester.
Yes, sir, I am.
Do you know the accused?
Yes, he comes in quite regularly.
Did he come in on the 17th of October last year?
He was there.
At what time of day?
Early lunchtime. He stayed until we closed at 3 o'clock.
Can you remember anything particular about the accused on that day?
Yes, very particularly. Partly because he made so much noise, and partly because he went on making it for such a long time.
What sort of noise?
Well, talk.
Conversation?
More of an oration. He turned the bar into a public meeting.
What was it all about?
He said he'd just come from court, where they'd had a fellow up for blackmail. He said the blackmailer was a dirty bastard, but that he was just a little clerk who worked for the council and he was hard up, so he had some sort of excuse.
You are telling us what the accused said?
Yes, sir. He said the fellow who was blackmailed was 10 times worse, as he was a rich builder who was trying to bribe people on the council. So he had no excuse.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Mr. O'Connor.
The accused talked about this rich builder.
Yeah, he went on and on about it, hardly stopping for a moment.
And the accused said that this rich builder was 10 times worse than the man who tried to blackmail him.
Yes, if he said it once, he said it 1,000 times. Louder and louder as the drinks went down.
What drinks?
His drinks, or those that people bought for him.
Yes, I'm sorry, I mean, what kind of drinks?
Oh, large Scotch. 8 or 10 he had.
8 or 10? Do you remember anything else that the accused said about this builder?
Yes, he said the public ought to be warned. That a fellow like him, who tried to bribe people, ought to be put in the pillory. And that every newspaper in the country ought to print his name in big red letters, only they weren't allowed to.
Did he say what he felt about the press not being allowed to print the builder's name?
Yes, he said it was an outrage and that the law was protecting the guilty.
Can you describe his manner when he said this?
Well, he started quietly and built up. By closing time, he was pounding the bars, spilling drinks and going on about the outrage and that something ought to be done.
Thank you, Mr. Donaldson.
Mr. Donaldson, you have testified that we are talking about Thursday, the 17th of October.
Yes.
The White Hart was full.
Well, average for a Thursday.
It's your best day, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Well, since the pub was full, it was also noisy.
Well, we don't encourage a rowdy clientele.
They're not deaf mutes.
Uh,
They do talk to each other.
oh, well, we get a friendly atmosphere.
Yes, well, how many bars do you have at the White Hart?
Saloon, the public, and the snack.
3, all of which you keep an eye on.
Yes, well, if you want something done properly these days, you either do it yourself or you keep an eye on whoever's supposed to be doing it for you.
Yes, so you supervise the public bar, the snack bar, and indeed the saloon bar.
I try.
Yes, spending perhaps a third of your time in each of the 3 bars.
I like to be fair.
So on the 17th of October, you spent 1/3 of your time in the saloon bar, which was exceptionally crowded and noisy because of market day.
Well, as I said, an average day for a Thursday.
Yet you were able to hear everything the accused said.
I heard a lot of what he said.
In all that noise, Mr. Donaldson.
Well, he made more noise than most.
And you were there only 1/3 of the time.
Well, he must have said a lot of things that I didn't hear, but he said a lot of things that I did hear.
Now, you've said the accused had 8 or 10 drinks.
Yes.
8, 9, or 10.
But thereabouts.
Can you swear that he didn't have 7?
I'm sure it was more than 7.
Well, can you swear he didn't have 11?
Well, that is a lot. No, I don't suppose it was 11.
Mr. Ellis, are you seeking to establish whether your client had more to drink or had less to drink?
I'm seeking to show, my lord, that the witness had an imperfect recollection of the entire episode.
I can myself remember perfectly the conversation at a recent tea party without remembering the precise number of cups of tea drunk by each person. I don't think this line of questioning is getting us anywhere.
Very well, my lord. Mr. Donaldson, you say that the accused was one of your regulars.
I'm afraid so.
Did he often behave as you've described?
I've had occasion to put him out more than once.
Yes, for picking quarrels, starting fights.
That, and sponging.
Sponging.
Yes, one minute he was shouting the odds, the next moment he was scrounging for drinks.
Dear, oh dear, almost begging, you might say.
No, almost about it.
Well, how do your other customers like that?
They don't. A chap like that in your place, you can lose custom.
Yes, indeed. So you really feel you're entitled to bear a grudge against him?
Well, I wouldn't say grudge. Not exactly grudge. But I am entitled to protect my business.
Yes, indeed. Of course. Thank you, Mr. Donaldson.
Mr. Pryor, you are editor of the Fulchester Herald.
I have that honour.
Having occupied the position for how long?
7 years.
The accused was on your staff?
Yes, sir. I engaged him 3 years ago on the basis of my memories of him.
Your memories, Mr. Pryor?
When I was a cub reporter in Liverpool 30 years ago, the accused was one of the people who taught me my trade. I admired him very much, and I was grateful to him.
Can you tell us what it was that you admired?
He seemed to me a reporter in the great tradition. His one idea was to get at the truth, then to print the truth for the world to see.
Publish and be damned?
If you like, my lord, or publish and be blessed.
Yes, Mr. O'Connor.
When you saw the accused 3 years ago, did you see in him the same crusading spirit?
I don't think it ever dies in a good reporter, though it may get overlaid and a little difficult to see.
Now, what assignment did you give the accused in the week beginning the 14th of October last year?
I assigned him to the Crown Court to cover a somewhat sensational local blackmail case.
Which he did cover?
Oh, yes.
Satisfactorily?
Yes. His copy, as always, needed a good deal of subbing, but he wrote a good piece.
Did you see his piece before it was sub-edited?
Yes, sir.
Mr. O'Connor, is the original copy being put in evidence?
No, my lord.
After the sub-editor had done his rewrite, my lord, the reporter's copy would be thrown away.
Yes. Yes, Mr. O'Connor.
Do you remember the original piece?
Pretty well.
Do you remember if the accused referred in this piece to the judge's direction regarding the anonymity of the principal prosecution witness?
No, sir, I don't remember that he did.
Do you remember how the accused referred in this piece to that witness?
He referred to him by name.
In defiance of the judge's direction?
Yes, my lord, but that did not matter very much.
Not matter, Mr. Pryor?
No, my lord, we don't set a reporter's copy without checking it. We'd be sued every other day. That's what sub-editors are for.
I understand. So, in the story the accused handed in, Mr. K was named?
Yes, my lord.
Yes.
Thank you, my lord. Will you tell us what happened later that afternoon of the 17th of October?
I was in my office about 6:30. I heard a commotion outside and I heard Davis's voice. He was demanding to see me. I opened the door of my office. Davis was waving some papers. He looked angry and upset. I thought it best to ask him into my office. He said he'd just seen murder committed.
Murder, Mr. Pryor?
The murder of his story, my lord.
What in particular did he complain about?
The suppression of the name of the man who had been blackmailed. He said the man was a fat profiteer on the fiddle, and the public ought to be told about him. He demanded that his story be set as he wrote it.
How did you react to this demand?
Severely, I'm afraid. I said if we printed that name, he knew damn well we'd be in contempt of court. I said I wasn't paid to land my proprietors in court on criminal charges. He became extremely abusive. He began shouting at me. I tried to hush him, but...
So, what was he shouting?
A lot of what he said was incoherent, but the tenor was clear enough. He accused me of preferring a soft job to doing my public duty. He even accused me of having been blackmailed by this same witness to keep his name out of the paper.
Yes, you've said he was in part incoherent. Was this, in your opinion, the result of anger?
Anger and whiskey.
You knew he'd been drinking?
Well, there wasn't any doubt of that. Every afternoon it was the same. Although you wouldn't notice if you knew him well.
You're saying he carried it well?
Amazingly. I've seen him drink half a bottle of spirits, then go straight to a typewriter and file a first-rate story.
Yes, but on this occasion he was incoherent.
Yes.
Which was unusual.
It happened when he got worked up about something. If he got into a rage.
And on this occasion he was in a rage with you for refusing to print the real name of the witness described as Mr. K.
Yes. He worked himself up into a passion and said things I simply could not overlook.
With what result?
I dismissed him.
In spite of your gratitude and admiration?
Yes, I was very unhappy about it. I still am. If it had been a private conversation, heard only by myself, I could maybe have put it down to booze and indignation. But the whole building must have heard him telling me that I wasn't fit to write the poems in a parish magazine. If the young lads in the office heard a man get away with that, my job would have become impossible. He had to go.
There and then?
I'm afraid so. He just shrugged and walked out of the room. I haven't seen him since to talk to.
Mr. Pryor, 30 years ago in Liverpool, you developed great admiration for the accused who taught you your job as a newspaper man.
Yes, sir, that is quite correct.
Yes, and what he taught you was a determination to get at the truth and publish it.
Oh, yes, certainly.
Now, do you still hold to this philosophy?
Well, entirely, provided the publication of the truth is not against the law and not against the public interest.
This proviso is also something you learned 30 years ago from the accused.
Yes, sir.
Yes, provided it is not against the law and the public interest. Now, Mr. Pryor, when you engaged the accused 3 years ago, had he approached you for a job?
Yes.
Do you know why?
He was out of one. He said he had been on the staff of a small weekly paper in Staffordshire, but had left.
Did he say why he'd left?
He told me he had resigned because of an impossible personal relationship with the editor.
Yes, was that editor known to you?
Yes, sir, he was an old friend and a one-time colleague.
Did you get in touch with him?
Oh, yes, certainly.
With what object?
I wanted to find out a little more before I decided whether to engage the accused.
Yes, and did you learn more?
Not much. My friend in Staffordshire was loyal and discreet.
Yes, so you never did discover why the accused had left his job in Staffordshire.
It was never put to me in so many words, but I formed a very clear impression of the reason.
Yes, and what was your impression?
That the accused was a drunk, that resigned was a euphemistic way of putting it.
Nevertheless, you engaged him.
Oh, yes. He had been a great man. I owed him a debt of gratitude. And I thought that if he could only pull himself together, he could still be a tremendous asset to the Herald.
Yes, did you say all this to him?
Yes. It was a very difficult speech to make, as he was an older man and had once been my own teacher and inspiration.
Mr. Pryor, when you engaged the accused, did it occur to you that this was his last chance of a job in journalism?
Yes, I'm afraid it did.
And you told him so?
Oh, yes. I thought it was the proper thing to do.
How did the appointment work out?
Pretty well.
He stopped drinking.
No, sir. It is very difficult for a reporter, especially on a paper like ours. A lot of the job is attending functions, the opening of a boutique, things like that. They want a good press. The public relations people try and fill a reporter up.
You are saying that the accused did drink?
Yes, my lord.
Yes, Mr. Ellis.
I know. Mr. Pryor, you earlier said that you'd often seen him drink half a bottle of whiskey and then type a story.
Yes?
Yes, I think you were talking about the old days, but it remained true here.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Usually carried it well, but sometimes he got worked up and became quarrelsome, aggressive.
Yes, I'm afraid so.
Now, what effect did this drunken aggressiveness have in the office?
Oh, not a very beneficial effect.
Because it was bad for the young lads.
Well, I felt it was bound to be. Edgar Davis had been quite a celebrity. They might be inclined to follow his example.
As you yourself once followed his example.
Exactly.
Now, what about outside the office?
The effect was apt to be unfortunate there, too. As a local newspaper, we are a part of the life of the community here. We depend on the goodwill of the community for sales, advertising revenue, and the opportunity to collect local news.
So you want your reporters to behave themselves?
Oh, yes, sir, we do.
And the accused did not?
Not quite always.
Yes, so he could be an embarrassment to you, give you a bad name with the public and the business community.
I'm afraid he could.
Now, these doubts about the accused existed in your mind long before the afternoon of October the 17th.
For some time before, yes.
Yes, so the heated argument and its unfortunate result were the accumulation of something that had been going on for a long time.
Oh, yes.
For how long, Mr. Pryor? For the whole 3 years since you employed him?
Oh, no. For a time, I thought he'd managed to get a grip of himself. As a matter of fact, I congratulated myself. I thought I'd put the fear of God into him.
And then he began to slip. To get drunk at lunchtime, embarrass you both in the office and outside it.
It did happen.
Yes, did you read him the Riot Act?
Yes, sir, I tried.
Did you remind him that if he lost his job, he'd probably never get another?
That was the size of it, yes.
Yes, so as far as you know, he could be in no doubt that this job was hanging by a thread and that no other job would follow it.
I left him in no doubt at all.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Pryor.
Mr. French, you're a compositor on the staff of the Fulchester Herald.
Yes, sir.
Where were you on the night of the 17th of October of last year?
In the office, sir. Near the telephone, mostly, in case they phoned in a classified ad.
You were on night duty, were you, all night?
Yes, sir. It's a 24-hour service, you see. They phone in a classified ad and you bang it into the space.
Now, did you see anyone else in the office during the night?
Well, there was George, sir, the night watchman, and there was Edgar Davis.
Please tell us what you saw, Mr. French.
Well, sir, I was going back to my telephone, having answered a call of nature, when I saw a light in the reporter's room.
This was at what time?
10 in the evening, sir, my lord. I went to see who was there, and to switch it off if there was nobody, on account of saving fuel, like they tell us. And there was Edgar Davis at the typewriter.
He was actually typing?
Yes, sir.
What kind of typewriter was he using?
Oh, it was a small portable, sir. Not one of the big Underwoods they have in the office.
You talked to the accused?
Oh, yes, sir, of course. Me and him being old friends, I said, hello, Edgar. What are you doing here this time of night? Trying to win the Pulitzer Prize?
Did the accused reply?
Yes, sir, immediately. He said, no, I'm writing my book, Herbert. Then he heard me telephone ring, and I said, there's another classified ad, and I bet you $1 that it's a situation wanted. And I left him to his typing, sir.
And he was actually using the typewriter while you were talking to him?
Yes, sir, pausing to add the odd remark to me, sir, but otherwise he was banging away.
After you went away to the telephone, did you see the accused again?
Oh, yes, sir, it was much later on, about 1 in the morning.
Where was he then?
He was in the general manager's office, sir. I saw a light in there, and there was Edgar Davis using the copying machine.
Yes, can you describe that machine, Mr. French?
Well, it's a photographic copier, sir. Not like one of the old sort with a stencil. It's a very modern one. It has to have a specialised paper, sir. The general manager uses it for office memos and such.
Do you know what brand of copying paper the general manager uses for his memos?
Yes, sir, always the same. Millgate.
You're sure of that, Mr. French?
Oh, yes, my lord. Sure as I stand here. I see the big cartons being delivered.
Is it normal for reporters to use the copying machine?
No, sir. Nor is it normal to see reporters in the general manager's office, sir. I said, blimey, he'll have your guts for breakfast if you muck up his copying machine. He said, I won't muck it up. I said, what are you doing then, printing that book you've just written? He said, yes, that's it. I said, let's have a look then. But he wouldn't let me look.
He prevented you from looking at what he was copying?
Yes, sir, he was sort of moving round, trying to hide things, you know. He said, if you read it now, you won't buy a copy. I said, all right, don't get your bowels in an uproar. Then my telephone rung and I buzzed off.
Later?
Oh, well, I saw him much later on, sir, about 4 in the morning.
Yes, well, tell us about that, please, Mr. French.
He was leaving, sir. Leaving the building at last. He was coming down the big stairs to the main door.
Was he carrying anything?
Yes, sir, a suitcase.
Maybe show Exhibit 1, please. Is this the suitcase, Mr. French?
Yes, sir. I know it by that bit of sticking plaster, my lord.
Had you ever seen it before?
No, sir.
Was the accused carrying it easily?
No, sir. He was making very heavy weather of it. As though it was very heavy. You know, there came a perler down the stairs. I said, oh, steady the buffs. But he didn't vouchsafe no reply, sir.
He nearly fell down the stairs?
Near as a toucher.
Was there any reason that you could see for his nearly falling?
Heavy suitcase.
No other reason?
Well, I'm sorry about being dense, sir, but like what?
Well, for example, was he drunk?
No, sir. Not to say drunk. Drink taken as per normal, if you won't object to my saying so. But at that exact juncture, he was not properly drunk, sir.
So he went on down the steps without replying to you, and then?
Disappeared, sir, into the night.
With this suitcase?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. French.
The case of the Queen against Davis will be resumed tomorrow in the Crown Court. Edgar Davis has pleaded not guilty to a charge of contempt of court, having been accused of publishing the name of a witness in a blackmail trial, in defiance of a direction by the trial judge. On the night of his dismissal from the Fulchester Herald, Davis was seen typing and using a photocopying machine by Herbert French, an employee of the paper, then carrying a heavy suitcase out of the building. French is about to be cross-examined by the defense counsel.
Mr. French, the accused was using a small portable typewriter.
Yes, a tiny.
Yes.
Like a toy.
Yes, well, you didn't see the make, nor indeed what he was typing.
No, sir.
Now, was there a waste paper bin by the desk?
Yes, sir, right beside it.
Full or empty?
Oh, full, sir. Full to overflowing with pieces of paper all scrumpled up like.
Yes, well, did you then or later look at any of those pieces of paper?
No, sir. Why should I look at a lot of waste paper?
Yes, what became of the waste paper?
Well, the cleaner comes a bit before 6 and empties the bins into the sacks, and then the lorry takes the sacks away between 7 and 8.
Yes, the cleaners take away every scrap of waste paper.
Yes, sir.
Now, when you saw the accused typing, was he wearing spectacles?
Yes, I think he was, sir.
Well, he will say that he was, but he can't read or write without them.
Oh, come to think of it, he always put them on to read, sir. That's right. Out of his pocket onto his nose.
Yes. Now, Mr. French, let us go to the general manager's office at 4 in the morning. Now, you've said you didn't see what the accused was copying on the machine.
No, sir.
So what he was copying might have been anything.
Yes, sir.
Now, did you, Mr. French, see a waste paper bin in the general manager's office?
No, sir. I dare say it was under the desk.
But if it had been full, it would have been cleared away by the cleaners.
Yes, sir, and the sack's gone away on the lorry.
Yeah. Now, was the accused wearing his glasses?
Oh, he must have been, sir. I'm sure he was.
Yes. Well, let us come to the steps at 4 in the morning. Now, the accused was carrying a suitcase.
Yes, sir, heaving it down the steps.
Are you surprised that the accused had suddenly acquired a suitcase?
No, sir. Several of them have them. I mean, there's a special cupboard where they keep them.
Do you know why they have them?
Well, sir, in the newspaper business, a reporter's liable to be sent anywhere.
Yeah. You didn't look inside the suitcase?
No, sir.
Nor ask the accused what he had inside it?
No, sir.
No. Thank you, Mr. French.
Sergeant Green, you were in Ashwood Street, Fulchester, at 6:30 in the morning of the 18th of October last.
Yes, sir. I saw the accused outside the door of number 47. He was holding in one hand a suitcase, sir.
Exhibit 1, please. Is this the suitcase?
Yes, sir. In his other hand, he held a sheaf of papers. He put down the suitcase, sir, and put one of the papers through the letterbox. He picked up the suitcase and proceeded to the door of the next house, number 48. He put down the suitcase. He inserted another paper through the letterbox. He then proceeded to the door of number 49, where I happened to be standing. I asked the accused what he was doing, sir. He replied, distributing these leaflets. I said, what are they then, some kind of advert? He said, that's right, announcing a new laundry. I said, I'm glad I ran into you. My wife wants to find a new laundry, let's have a look. He said, no, I can't give you one. They all have to go in the letterboxes. I said, that's daft. I'm a potential customer. He said, I've got my orders. They all have to go in letterboxes. At this juncture, the accused dropped the bundle of leaflets he was holding, and some of them fluttered about the street on account of the breeze. I picked one up, sir, and cast my eye over it. I saw then that it was not an advert announcing a laundry, but an open letter to the public, sir.
Maybe show an Exhibit 2, please. Is this what you saw, Sergeant?
This is identical to what I picked up, sir.
Would you read it out to us, please?
Stanley Jobson has just been sent to prison for blackmail. He tried to extort £2,000 from a respected and prosperous resident of our city. What was his hold over that worthy citizen? He knew that the citizen had tried to bribe a member of the Works Committee of our council. With what object? To secure for himself the contract to build a new multi-storey car park. Stanley Jobson is no longer in our midst. But still in our midst is a man who tries to bribe our elected councillors in order to grow richer himself. You should beware of him. But how can you beware of someone whose identity is kept secret from you? Let us tear aside the veil that conceals this corrupt profiteer. The fat man with the fat bribe in his hand is...
Yes, Sergeant Green, the direction of the child judge is still in force. The person in question will continue to be referred to as Mr. K, both here and elsewhere.
Yes, my lord. The fat man with the fat bribe in his hand is Mr. K.
After you'd glanced at this document, Sergeant.
I was aware of the proceedings of the trial referred to, sir, and of the judge's order. I consequently cautioned the accused and asked him to accompany me to the station.
Did the accused make any reply?
He said, what's wrong with an ad for a laundry? I said, funny sort of laundry, you come along. I picked up his suitcase, sir, and he accompanied me quietly. On the way, sir, the accused said to me, what's on those papers? I said, you know full well what's written there. He said, to the best of my knowledge, it's a leaflet advertising a laundry. I said, can't you read then? He said, no, not without my glasses. We arrived at the station, sir. The contents of the suitcase was examined with the consent of the accused. It was found to contain 452 copies of the paper, identical to what I picked up.
Was there anything else in the suitcase?
No, sir, nothing at all.
Did he make a statement?
Yes, sir, in the presence of myself and Constable Williams, after being cautioned.
Take down the statement?
I attempted to do so, sir, but it was impossible to do so verbatim.
Why?
It was garbled, sir. He constantly contradicted himself. I told the accused what I thought he was trying to tell me, and he agreed that it was right.
Well, what was the story that he agreed was right?
I said, you were walking down the butter market. A car stopped and a man got out. He offered you £25 to stick a lot of leaflets into letterboxes. He said they were adverts for a laundry. You said you'd do it because you'd just lost your job. You put the leaflets in your own suitcase that you happened to be carrying and started in like he said.
And the accused agreed that this was right?
Yes, sir.
Did he describe the car?
Up to a point, sir. He said it was a big black car, but he didn't know the make or the year.
The man?
Described him in all sorts of ways, sir. 40, 50, 60 years of age, dark, fair, bald, tall, medium, short. I attempted to get a precise description of the man, sir, on account of if the story were true, then this were the man we wanted. But I got every description under the sun.
You said if the story was true?
Yes, sir.
Now, these 452 identical copies of the leaflet in the suitcase, Sergeant Green. Can you identify the typewriter used in the paper?
The typewriter was a Remington portable, evidently much used. The paper was Millgate brand photocopying paper.
Thank you, Sergeant Green.
Sergeant Green, now when you first saw the accused in Ashwood Street, was he wearing his glasses?
No, sir.
Do you know if he was carrying any glasses?
I know he was not, sir. He'd turned out his pockets looking for them.
Oh. Now, it was 6:30 in the morning. The accused is not a young man. Did he seem to you to be tired?
He did look tired, yes, sir.
Is that why you carried his suitcase?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Now, the accused readily agreed to come with you to the police station and to wait there?
Yes, sir.
Volunteered a statement?
Yes, sir.
Which was, however, garbled and contradictory.
Yes, sir.
Because he was too tired to think straight.
That was what he said himself, sir.
Yeah. Well, after you told the accused what you thought was the gist of his story, did he agree with you?
Yes, sir. But then we had the mix-up about the description.
Yes, which remained inconclusive.
Yes, sir.
Yes. At what time did you finish that conversation?
I gave up at 7:45, sir.
An hour and a quarter after you first met the accused in Ashwood Street.
Yes, sir.
Well, if he was tired by 6:30, he must have been at the point of collapse at 7:45.
He was very tired, yes, sir.
Now, what did he do then, after you finished talking?
He went to sleep, sir.
Yes, he went to sleep. Now, Sergeant Green, the typewriter used for this document was a small Remington portable.
Yes, sir.
A popular and well-known make, which a very large number are in use.
So I would imagine, sir, yes.
And Millgate paper, also very well-known, popular.
I believe it is, sir.
Now, the contents of the broadsheet which the accused was distributing refer to a recent trial at this court.
Yes, sir.
Now, that trial was fully reported in the press, national as well as local.
Yes, sir.
There's nothing in the broadsheet which could not have been known to 50 million people.
No, sir, except the actual name of Mr. K.
Well, we have heard evidence that Mr. K's actual name was mentioned in court. Everyone in court knew it. Everyone they told knew it. Everyone they in turn told knew it. The name could have spread all over Britain.
In theory, sir, yes, that is so.
Now, in your experience as a police officer, Sergeant Green, would you say that villains of all kinds are likely to have enemies?
Yes, sir.
Such as particularly the friends of a man who has been sent to prison by evidence given by one of those villains at his trial. People feel very strongly about someone who shopped their friend.
Yes, sir.
Especially if they think he's a villain who's managed to get away with it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Sergeant Green.
Be lawyers.
Mr. Davis, how long have you been a journalist?
I was a journalist for 44 years.
All your working life?
It was all I ever wanted to do. I went straight from school to a trainee job on a local weekly, and then by degrees to larger newspapers in larger towns.
Including Liverpool?
Yes, that was a happy time in my life. It was a very good paper, all hard news. I was well paid, and I enjoyed...
What did you enjoy?
Well, it's hard to believe, but I enjoyed a lot of respect.
From your juniors?
From my juniors, from my editor, and most gratifyingly of all, from my colleagues, my fellow reporters.
Yes. Can you account for this respect?
Not without a great effort of memory.
Yes. Now, from Liverpool, you went to London, to Fleet Street.
Yes, 2 years on the Sketch, a year on the Herald, and 2 years on the Chronicle. I was in my early 40s. Professionally, it was the high point of my life.
Yes, you travelled?
Oh, yes, everywhere. America, Russia, Australia, all over Africa. Wherever the news was, they sent me. It was a very exciting time, very rewarding, but very difficult.
Difficult? In what way?
I spent all my life at airports, a 2-hour wait, a 4-hour wait, a 12-hour wait. What do you do at a dreary airport? For 12 hours, I went straight to the airport bar.
Yes. Well, was this something new in your life?
Oh, no, not really. In Liverpool, I spent a lot of time in pubs and clubs and railway stations, killing time, keeping people's confidence. I was able to handle it when I was young. That's one of the difficulties about growing old. And I suppose in Fleet Street I began to grow old. I never lost a taste for the stuff. God forgive me, I never lost the need for it. But I lost the trick of handling it. And in the end, I lost everything.
Yes. Your job?
That was the first thing I lost.
Yes. How did you feel about that?
Oh, angry, contemptuous. I thought they were a lot of stuffy old maids. I thought I was the best reporter in Fleet Street. I was, too. But I didn't see the way I was heading, and they did.
What happened to you then?
Oh, it was my early career all over again, except in reverse. I went by degrees to smaller newspapers in smaller towns, and then finally to a job in Staffordshire from which I was allowed to resign after...
After what, Mr. Davis?
Well, I was sick at a public banquet and had to be carried out, and then I came here.
Yes. Now, you've heard Mr. Pryor's evidence.
Yes, sir.
He said he engaged you because of what you'd once been and what he believed you could still be.
Yes.
Now, do you share his belief about the future?
Well, I tried. I tried. I was passionately determined to justify Frank Pryor's faith in me. After all, he was taking a risk hiring me, and... But then, you see, on my own account,
On your own account?
Well, on my own account, I saw myself reclaiming myself.
Yes. Now, had you any plans, any ambitions if this job on the Fulchester Herald fell through?
I could have no plans. I could have no ambitions. I had to keep that job or I was done. I had to keep it.
Yes. Now, we have heard you were assigned to cover the trial of Stanley Jobson and did, in fact, attend it.
Yes, sir.
Now, we've also heard some accounts of what you said about the principal prosecution witness at the trial. Now, will you tell us, please, now, what you really feel or felt about Mr. Kay?
Mostly envy, I think.
Envy?
Well, he's about my age and he's still going strong. He's still at the top of his tree.
Yes, well, there was evidence at the trial about Mr. Kay's alleged business methods. What do you feel about those?
Oh, still envy. He had the guts to go after what he wanted and he had £500 to buy it with. I haven't got the guts to go after anything, and I haven't even got 500 pennies.
And what was your attitude to the judge's direction that Mr. Kay's name must not be used
Well, I saw and still see the need for that. It's clearly in the public interest that the victims of blackmail should assist the police.
Now, Mr. Davis, you've been quoted as expressing a very different point of view by Mr. Pryor and Mr. Donaldson of the White Hart.
Well, I didn't know what I was saying that afternoon. I was drunk.
Now, at what time did you leave this building on the 17th of October?
Immediately after sentence, about noon.
Yes, you went to the White Hart?
Yes, sir.
Directly?
No, sir.
Where first?
To the Crown.
Is that another public house?
Yes, my lord.
At what time did you leave the Crown?
I don't know, my lord.
Yes, Mr. Innes.
My lord. Now, how would you describe your condition when you left the Crown?
Oh, I was all right, perfectly all right. I'd only had 3 or 4 drinks.
Yes, you then went to the White Hart?
Yes, sir.
Yes, where you had...
I don't know, sir.
You don't know
No,
how
sir.
many drinks?
No.
Well, did you talk to anyone?
I don't know.
Well, Mr. Donaldson says you were in full flood of conversation, Mr. Davis.
I'm afraid he's probably right.
But you don't remember?
No, sir.
Well, do you remember leaving the White Hart?
Yes, I remember them saying it was time.
Yes, and where did you go?
Straight to the office.
And what did you do there?
I went to my desk and wrote my story.
Yes, you remember that.
Yes, the walk pulled me round. It is a 15-minute walk.
Yes, and how much do you remember of the story you typed?
Not much.
So you don't know how close it was, in fact, to what was actually set?
Well, I expect the sub had a go.
Yes, well, do you remember how you referred to the principal prosecution witness?
No, sir.
Mr. Pryor has given evidence that you referred to him by name instead of as Mr. K.
Yes, well, I think that probably shows I wasn't quite as capable as I thought I was.
Yes, well, if you had been capable, how would you have referred to Mr. K?
Oh, as Mr. K, obviously.
Yes. And then, after you finished your story, what did you do?
Well, I must have handed it in. Yes, certainly, I handed it in.
Yes, and then?
Well, I had nothing much to do for a while, so I had a drink.
Where?
In the office.
Where was the drink?
In my desk.
Yes, and what did you drink?
Brandy and ginger ale.
Both of which you had in your desk.
Yes, sir.
How much did you drink?
I don't know, sir.
Yes. Now, what happened next?
I went to see Frank Pryor.
Yes, why?
I don't know.
You went to see your editor, but you are unable to remember why.
No, sir.
Now, you heard his evidence
Yes, sir.
as to why you went to see him, as to what happened when you did.
Yes, sir.
Well, do you accept his account?
I believe Frank Pryor. Of course I believe him. He's a truthful man, an honourable man. He still enjoys the sort of respect that once upon a time well, if Frank Pryor says something happened, it must have happened. It must have, but I can't remember.
Yes. Now, as you know, Mr. Pryor has said there was an argument over the sub-editing of your story about the blackmail trial.
Yes, that's hard to believe. I mean, I might get the sack for being drunk, but not for taking a high and mighty line about what the paper should or should not print. At least I didn't think I would. I didn't think I'd just commit suicide.
Yes, well, do you remember what happened after your interview with Mr. Pryor?
No, sir.
Well, what is the first thing you do remember, Mr. Davis?
Standing in the street, feeling the breeze, breathing in the fresh air. I remember standing in the street and wondering why I was there and what had happened. Then I suddenly remembered thinking, my God, I've got the sack.
Yes, well, how did you feel then?
Sober.
You were suddenly sober.
Well, not all at once, not just like that. No, I was sick. I was sick in the street outside the office, and then I was all right. Well, that's an overstatement too, but I did feel better. I thought about things. I didn't know what had happened, but I knew I'd got the sack. I knew I had to do something about that. So I went to my lodgings and got out my typewriter.
Oh, why?
Well, I had to make a bit of a struggle in order to save my own life, even though it was useless. I had to make a struggle, well, just as a matter of form. Can you understand that?
You went to your lodgings, Mr. Davis. Davis.
And got out my typewriter and sat down to work.
Yes, and to what effect?
To no effect. I had no paper, so how could I save my life with my typewriter if I had no paper to type with? So I put my typewriter under my arm and went back to the office.
Yes, will you describe the typewriter, please?
My old friend? Yes, it's a little blue-grey Olivetti portable. I bought it second-hand in London some years ago when I was working there.
You are certain of the make?
Oh, yes. It's an Olivetti, an Italian machine.
Now, the office, you see, is full of typewriters. Now, why did you take your own there?
Oh, pride. I know it sounds funny coming from me, but I was about to humiliate myself. I was about to beg. I didn't want my begging letter to be written on a Fulchester Herald typewriter at all.
Yes, well, when did you get back to the office then?
I don't know. At the time, it was evening. It was getting dark. I went to my desk and sat down to work.
Yes, you began typing.
Yes.
Yes, and what did you type?
A letter. To Frank Pryor, to my editor.
Yes, now what did you say, please, in that letter?
Oh, everything. Too much. Very little I left unsaid. God knows how long I took to write that letter, trying to get it right. I said all the things one shouldn't say. I reminded him of things I'd done for him in Liverpool years ago. I never did get it right.
Yes, well, what were you trying to say in that letter?
I was asking for my job back.
And it was a very difficult letter to write.
I knew damn well Frank Pryor would be out of his mind to give me my job back again. I knew damn well that if he did, it would only be out of charity. So I wasn't asking for a job. I wasn't a professional asking another professional for a job. I was just a beggar, a down and out, asking for pity, for charity. Me. Do you know, Frank Pryor once changed the brand of cigarettes he smoked. In order to smoke the same brand as mine, he used to wear his hat at the same angle as mine. He used to bash a new hat about in order that it should look like mine. Oh, well, he was very young then. God knows I wanted his charity, I needed it, but I just couldn't bring myself to stoop so low. I couldn't bring myself to beg for Frank Pryor's pity and charity for 50 quid a week whiskey money.
Well, you say you never did get that letter right.
No, after 44 years professional writing, so one thing I couldn't write.
The case of the Queen against Davis will be concluded tomorrow in the Crown Court. Edgar Davis, a newspaper reporter, is on trial for contempt of court. On the night of his dismissal from the Fulchester Herald, Davis was seen using a typewriter and photocopying machine and was later found by police at 6:30 in the morning distributing a broadsheet in which a witness in a blackmail trial was identified by name. Davis's recollection of the crucial events is hazy because of his heavy drinking, but he says that what he was typing in the office during the night was a letter to Mr. Pryor, the editor, begging for his job back.
Now, Mr. Davis, after you had abandoned the attempt to write the letter to Mr. Pryor, what did you do?
I tried another letter, to whom it may concern, a form letter addressed to the editors of other newspapers applying for a job as a reporter, setting out my experience, not all my experience, not the last few years, just the part that read well. So I left out the last few years. I tried to make it confident and dignified. I tried to give the impression I was conferring a favor on them by employing me as a reporter without being patronizing or arrogant. without asking too much money. I also put in a hint that I'd had problems, difficulties, and this had affected my health and my efficiency, but that I'd got over that sort of trouble. I thought I'd better put in a hint like that because I knew damn well they'd soon find out I was a lush.
One moment, Mr. Davis. Did you complete this form letter?
In the end, I made one or two bosh shots, but
yes,
my typing wasn't very accurate.
What did you do when you had completed the form letter?
Well, I needed a lot of copies to send to a lot of editors, so I went to the general manager's office and borrowed his photostating machine.
Yes, and what you copied on the machine was a form letter applying for a job to several editors.
Yes, silly, wasn't it?
Did you take copies of anything else?
No, nothing else.
How many copies did you take?
About 40.
Did anyone see you while you were doing this?
Yes, Herbert French came in for a minute.
Yes, now he has said that you hid what you were doing.
Of course I did.
Will you tell us why, please?
Well, in my letter I was still one of the stars of Fleet Street, on first-name terms with the heads of government all over the world. I mean, Herbert French is a very nice man, but even he would have laughed in my face.
Yes, and what did you do with the 40 copies?
I destroyed them.
After taking all that trouble, Mr.
Well,
Davis?
I woke up, I realized I'd been dreaming. None of these people would offer me a job. I hadn't a snowball's chance in hell of even getting a job taking round the tea, so what was the use of wasting money on stamps?
Did you have any money for stamps?
No. That was another reason for not sending the letters.
So how did you dispose of the 40 copies?
Just bung them into the waste paper bin.
A whole lot?
Well, I was careful about that. I imagined someone finding a copy and reading what I'd said about myself. I imagined a laugh that would take the roof off the office, so I was careful to bung the whole lot in the bin.
Yes, and what did you do next?
I went to the cupboard and got out my suitcase.
Yes, now why do you keep your suitcase there?
No reason. No reason at all. Once upon a time I needed to have a suitcase in the office in case I was sent abroad at a few moments' notice, and then I was packed and ready to go. So it was natural for me to have a suitcase in the office, but there was nothing in it, and I never used it.
Well, did you then put anything into the suitcase?
A few books from my desk, my typewriter, my little Olivetti, a bottle of brandy not quite empty, half a dozen bottles of empty bottles of dry ginger. Those were returnable. That's why I took them. I could get a few pennies back on them, enough for a drink.
Yes, nothing else?
I had nothing else.
No pieces of paper?
No.
Then, having packed your suitcase,
I left the office.
while you were typing and using your photocopier, were you wearing spectacles?
Oh, yes, I couldn't have seen what I was doing without them.
And while you were packing the suitcase?
Well, I had them off.
And when you left the office?
Oh, most certainly I'd have taken them off then.
Yes, and when you took them off, you put them where?
Usually in my pocket, my breast pocket.
Usually, but not always.
Well, sometimes I put them down somewhere. Sometimes it takes me hours to find them.
Yes, well, Sergeant Green has testified that you did not have your glasses with you in the morning.
No, I must have left the office without them.
Do you know what happened to them?
I must have put them down somewhere in the office.
But you do have them now.
Oh, yes, these are my spares. I had those at home. I expect the others went off with the rubbish.
Yes, with all the copies of that, with all the copies of all that you had typed and photostat.
No, I expect so, yes.
Yes, and you left the office. Now, then what happened?
I started to walk towards my lodgings.
Yes, what time is this, please?
Oh, I don't know. I couldn't read my watch.
Or was it already daylight?
No, it was still dark.
Yes, and as you walked home?
A car stopped and a man got out.
Yes, can you describe the car?
Not very well, I'm afraid. It was a big car, I think black, but the headlights were shining in my eyes, which made it difficult to see.
Yes, can you describe the man?
He was a middle-aged man of medium height, wearing a blue or grey suit, and he wore a felt hat.
Moustache or beard?
No, he was clean-shaven.
Glasses?
No.
What did he do?
He said it was an ungodly hour for a man to be up and about, and I agreed with him.
Can you describe his voice, then?
Well, it was an educated voice with a slight accent, a lilt to the speech. I think he was a Welshman. He said he'd just started a new laundry business in the town, and he'd had some leaflets printed, and he wanted to distribute them in letterboxes. He was doing it now because he was going to be too busy later on. He had engaged a man, but this man hadn't turned up. He didn't want to do it himself because he had more important things to do, but he had no choice. He said he'd gladly pay a reliable man £25 to put all the leaflets through letterboxes. Well, I needed £25. I needed any money doing anything.
Yes. Did he give you the money?
No, he told me to come to his laundry. He had no cash on him, and he said the address was printed on the leaflet.
Yes, which you could not read.
No, sir.
No. Now, Mr. Davis, tell us, why did you believe this man?
I had no reason to disbelieve him. He had a big car. He'd gone to the expense of having leaflets printed. I thought I had his name and address, and I needed the money.
Now, what happened next?
Well, he opened the boot of his car, and there were 2 or 3 reams of thick paper in a cardboard box. I thought it's going to be awkward to carry. He said, well, what about your case? I said, it's full. He said, well, why not put your stuff into the boot of my car? It'll be perfectly safe, and you can collect it when you come for your money. Well, seemed a good idea, so I put my books, my typewriter, and my empty bottles into the boot of his car.
Including your bottle of brandy?
Well, that would be empty too by now. I opened my case and put his papers into it, and then he locked the boot of his car. He said he'd expect me at 10 o'clock. We shook hands, and he got into his car and drove off. I collected a couple of dozen of his leaflets and started to push them through letterboxes.
How long were you doing this?
Oh, a long time. It started to grow light. And then I saw the police sergeant, and he told me what was really printed on the leaflet.
Yes, and what was your reaction to that?
Well, I was angry. I mean, I hadn't got his name and address. I didn't know where to go for my money. I didn't know how I was going to get my typewriter and my books and my empties. I mean, there was 37p owing on the empties.
Yes, so you went with Sergeant Green to the police station.
Yes, oh, well, I was so tired I'd willingly have gone with anybody anywhere by this time. He very kindly carried my suitcase for me.
Yes, you arrived at the police station, and then what happened, please?
I can't clearly remember. I was half asleep on my feet. I remember a lot of blue uniforms, a lot of talk. I must have dropped off to sleep. Apparently, I did a lot of talking, but it must have been in my sleep. I'd had a long day.
Thank you, Mr. Davis.
You heard Mr. Pryor's evidence?
Yes, it was embarrassing for me to listen to. I'd been mixing brandy and whiskey.
You are telling us that your passionate rage at Mr. Kay's anonymity was purely the result of drink.
Yes, sir.
Are you familiar with the phrase in vino veritas?
Yes, sir.
How would you render it in English, then?
In wine, the truth.
In other words, people tell more of the truth when they've been drinking.
According to that proverb, yes.
Or more than when they're being careful and watching themselves.
Well, it may be the case with some people.
Well, I suggest it is the case with you.
No, sir, I don't think so. I don't think it works that way with me. I think what happens to me is that I forget my fright, my uselessness, and my failure, and I pretend to be some sort of crusader, to be the sort of man I used to be, or thought I was. It's a sort of play acting. I go into a sort of dream world. I expect it's very enjoyable at the time, but, well, I'm not even sure about that because I never remember afterwards what I've been saying.
Yes, let us turn to this typewriter of yours, shall we? People must have seen this one you kept at home, people who came to your flat.
No, I don't think so. I got it for writing my memoirs, but I didn't say anything about that. It was a secret.
Yes, but in all the years since, someone must have seen it.
Well, it hasn't been used in the last few years because I gave up the idea of trying to write my memoirs, and it's been sitting in the bottom of a wardrobe.
So we only have your word for it, that it was an Olivetti and not a Remington, like the one that was used in the broadsheet.
I'm afraid so, yes.
So you're saying that you suddenly dug out this long-abandoned typewriter and carried it to an office that was full of typewriters.
Well, I wanted to do my typing at home, but I had no paper.
And you had a strange moral reluctance to using an office typewriter.
Well, I have tried to explain that. You see, when you have very little pride left, what little you have is very important to you. That's why I took my own typewriter to the office.
Well, your pride did not prevent you from using great quantities of office paper.
No, I agree. It is very inconsistent.
It's not inconsistent. It's incredible.
I can see it's difficult to understand. I'm not defending myself. I did use a lot of paper, although I was no longer employed there, but I had no paper of my own, and I did terribly want to write those letters. That's why I went to the office.
Well, you could have bought paper, a few sheets.
No, sir. I had spent all my money at the White Hart.
Now, you've told us that you were in the office from 10 in the evening, or earlier, until 4 in the morning, until the last few minutes you were working.
Yes, sir.
6 hours work and you threw it all away. An extraordinary way to spend a night. Do you agree?
Well, it was absurd to do all that typing and copying and then throw it all away, but the absurd thing was not throwing away. It was doing it because it wouldn't have been any use. It wouldn't have got me a job.
Well, I suggest that you were not typing letters, which you knew to be quite purposeless, but you were doing something quite different. And I suggest that your portable typewriter was a Remington. And I suggest that you meant what you said in the White Hart and in Mr. Pryor's office. You believe that Mr. Kay should be publicly identified, and that what you typed and what you copied were as a result of this belief.
I only wish I was that sort of man.
What?
I wish I was still the sort of man who believed things. I wish I was a crusader instead of just pretending to be one when I'm drunk enough to forget what I really am. I wish I was the sort of man who'd forfeit his life and his future for something he really believed in. But I'm not. I'm too frightened and broke and need money for whiskey. I wish your suggestion was right, although it would make me guilty here. I wish I had that sort of guts, but I haven't. I'm exactly what I suppose I must seem to you.
You are a very experienced reporter.
Was.
Well, for 44 years you've been a trained observer.
Yes.
You say that you met a man under peculiar circumstances to whom you entrusted your belongings and whom you were trusting to pay you £25. Yes?
Yes, sir.
Yet you cannot identify this man.
I have identified him.
Well, in terms so contradictory that the Sergeant Green was unable to get a coherent version down onto paper. It is it not, amazing that you should have trusted this total stranger?
I suppose I wanted to trust him. I suppose I wanted to believe that at 10 o'clock I would get my £25. More than 6 bottles of whiskey.
£25 for pushing a few hundred leaflets through a letterbox. It was a very high fee.
Well, even at that time I didn't really believe it was a fee for that service, not £25. But you see, I had told him why I was walking about in the small hours of the morning with a suitcase, and also about losing my job.
Mr. Davis, you never mentioned this conversation before?
No, sir, I'm sorry. It's only just come back to me. You see, he told me why he was there, so I told him why I was there. It was only after that he offered me the £25. I never really thought of it as being a fee.
Well, what was it then?
Well, I thought it was charity. I thought he felt sorry for me.
I see.
Have you many more questions, Mr. O'Connor?
Yes, my lord, a considerable number.
Then I wonder if it would be convenient to you if we adjourn now and you resumed your cross-examination after luncheon.
Perfectly convenient, my lord.
Yes.
V lawyers.
Mr. Pryor has testified that when he was a very young reporter, he admired you more than any of your colleagues.
It was nice of him to say that.
He said that what he admired was your passionate determination to make the truth public.
Yes.
You accepted that description of yourself?
Oh, he said it, not me. I go along with it.
Well, Mr. Pryor also said that it was because of his belief that this spirit was not dead in you that he engaged you here in Fulchester.
Yes.
Do you agree with this diagnosis of yourself 3 years ago?
Mr. Pryor's a very discerning man.
The crusading spirit was still alive, then?
Let us say, the ghost still walked.
Now, you've said that your attitude to Mr. Kay was one of envy, even admiration. Is this really so?
Well, he's better for his age than I am.
But admiration?
Well, why not?
Well, a crusading journalist can really admire such a person.
Well, one can't help admiring a successful bandit.
Oh, you regard him as a bandit.
Well, on the fringe of banditry.
Well, he attempted to bribe public officials.
Certainly flirted with bribery.
You admire him for that?
One can't help admiring his gall. It's a quality much esteemed in my own profession. When I see it, I respect it.
Mr. Pryor regarded you years ago as public-spirited.
I should hope so, indeed.
Do you think that the public interest is served by the activities of men like Mr. Kay?
Their own interests are all that ever concern men like Mr. Kay.
Yes, would you agree that a man who is capable of such bribery would be capable of a second attempt at
Yes, and he's more likely to pull it off a second time.
Well, the public interest would hardly be served by such a second attempt.
Hardly.
The public interest would rather be served by the prevention of such an attempt.
Yes.
And the prevention of such an attempt would be brought about by the public identification of the man concerned.
I believe so.
By the publication of the truth.
The interest of the public is usually served by the publication of the truth.
Getting at the truth and trumpeting it abroad are the prime and constant objectives.
Yes.
And to you they so remain.
I am not now that strength which in old days moved earth and heaven, that which I am. Tennyson's Ulysses. Slightly paraphrased, but adding up to the notion that there's life in the old dog yet. Frank Pryor says it shouldn't die in a man, and I don't believe it could. The truth is like steam. It has incalculable power. It does move earth and heaven. Must not be bottled up or imprisoned, or it's apt to explode in your face. It must press against the piston, heave at public opinion, move the gigantic locomotive of human progress. That is the glory and the duty of a free press.
I understand. The glory and the duty of every reporter is to shine a great light on the corrupt.
Yes, so they'll think twice about taking bribes.
You're speaking of our friend Mr. Kay.
Who? I'm speaking generally.
Well, of Mr. Kay and others like him.
I hope there are no others like him.
For the public good?
Well, he's got $750,000 already, and he wants more profitable contracts. Public contracts rather than private ones, as the scale is larger, the supervision laxer, and the costing more elastic. A multi-story car park suits him down to his dirty socks. The finish can be rough, the workmanship shoddy, and the materials substandard. But nobody's going to know, because nobody's going to live there. So he bribes a public official and shakes the ratepayers. He breeds dishonesty as a monkey breeds flies. He spreads corruption like a just oh, God, I'm going to be sick.
Take him out of here. Quickly, please. You're fit to continue?
Yes, my lord. I'm very sorry. I'm afraid at lunchtime
We all realize what you did at lunchtime. It was not a well-chosen time.
It never is, my lord.
Yes, Mr. O'Connor?
Thank you, my lord. You were saying, or had just said, that the duty and the glory of every journalist was to shine a great light on corruption.
Did I say that?
25 minutes ago, yes.
Sounds as though I was doing one of my crusader acts again, as you tell me I did when I shouted at poor Frank Pryor in the White Hart back in October. Seems to take fewer and fewer drinks to turn me into a crusader these days. I'm very sorry, my lord. I must have been wasting everybody's time.
On the contrary, Mr. Davis, I suggest that you have at long last been showing us the truth about yourself.
Well, I don't know. I don't know what I've been saying.
No. No further questions, my lord.
You are better now, Mr. Davis.
Yes, sir.
Putting it brutally, you have sobered up.
Well, there's no point in putting it other than brutally.
And there is one point about which I wish to be absolutely clear. You have said, and Mr. Pryor has also said, that your job on the Fulchester Herald was the end of the road for you.
Oh, yes, there was nothing beyond, nothing. It was life and death for me to keep that job.
But it has been suggested that shining great lights on corruption was even more important.
Oh, it ought to be, of course. Have I just been saying that it was? In that case, I must have been drunker than I thought I was.
Now that you are sober, Mr. Davis, you are saying that keeping your job was more important.
Oh, yes, much more. Oh, I'm not proud of that, but now that I am sober and know what I'm saying, no, I wouldn't have done anything heroic. Not if it meant risking my job.
Thank you, Mr. Davis.
Members of the jury are faced with a simple issue of fact. What did happen on the night of 17th, 18th of October? Did the accused know what was in those broadsheets or not? You may find the defendant's story strange. That does not necessarily make it untrue. The character which he has presented for most, but not all the time, you may find pathetic, even shameful. But that does not make him untruthful. Ultimately, you must be guided by your assessment of the accused, and particularly of the effect on him of alcohol, which we have, perhaps fortunately, had an opportunity to see. Is the accused telling the truth when he is sober and playing a part when he is drunk? Or is he telling the truth when he is drunk and playing a part when he is sober? Remember, you must be satisfied so that you are sure of the accused's guilt before you can return a verdict of guilty. Will you now retire and consider your verdict?
All stand. Members of the jury, will your foreman please stand? Just answer this question, yes or no. Have you reached a verdict on which you're all agreed?
Yes.
Do you find the defendant, Edgar Davis, guilty or not guilty of contempt of court?
Guilty.
Edgar Davis was fined £250 and given 6 months to pay. You can join another jury when our cameras return to bring you a leading case in the Crown Court.